welcome to the Up and Down Show with Daniel
and Upendo.
We are so excited that you guys decided to come back for a second stab here of the Up and Down Show. We aren't really sure if it's a podcast that we're doing or a talk show or
well, it's going to be whatever we want it to be, whether it's going to be a podcast, talk show, or a podcast or a potty talk show or
a podcast show.
But it's just going to be whatever we want it to be. But the good news is that we're back. This is two. It's been 2 weeks.
That's pretty cool.
It's been 2 weeks, and there's been a lot of changes in this 2 weeks. As you can see, our set have kind of changed just a little bit.
It's subtle, but it's subtle but important. We got candles now.
Yes, we have that Zen vibe going on.
Absolutely. The set is feeling even more comfortable. We have microphones.
We have microphones because, we shot the first show, which was really exciting for us. And of course, Daniel being who he is, just a consummate professional.
I'm sure she means that as a compliment.
It is a compliment. The consummate professional he is. He was like, we can do this a little better. We can just bring some things in and we can just look a little better. And he looks amazing.
Oh, well, I did get a haircut in the midst of a pandemic. After 2.5 months, I finally got a haircut.
But let's be clear. Last time we talked about the pandemic, and in 2 weeks, our communities have kind of, pretty much released some of the restrictions around certain.
We've started to open up.
Yeah,
We've started to dip our toes.
Yes, and so right now that was essential for you to get groomed.
Yes, absolutely. The barber shop is open. They have exceptional practices in order to keep us safe and keep the stylists safe. So anyhow, I was really excited about that. And I'm excited to be here again with my bestie.
Oh, I just paid him to say that, okay? And he's my bestie in this moment right now. This time.
Yeah, you're such a Wendy Williams. You remember when Wendy Williams said that she called Nene, she said she's one of those over there friends?
Oh, no, you're not over there.
I'm not an over there friend. Am I an actual bestie?
You are so not a over there friend. You are
I
right
appreciate that.
Here. Oh, he's right here in my heart. In my heart. So
and that is an enviable place to be.
Exactly. Absolutely. So what you been doing for the last 2 weeks?
Well, I've been getting used to this idea that we're starting to open up. I talked about last time we were on. I was wanting to be more responsible about doing the quarantine and not sort of being selfish about how I was living my life. But I'm excited actually to be, we have our off-camera producers actually telling me to lean into the microphone, I believe. So here we go. All right, so hopefully that's better. Be patient with us, folk. We are going to figure out the technical aspects of what we are doing. So,
yes.
So anyhow, I'm trying to open up my mind. I'm excited about it, but I don't want to be too excited about it. I'm trying to be patient, which is hard for me. So so the last 2 weeks has really, a lot of that has been transpiring. How about you?
So the last 2 weeks have been pretty much the same though, as far as what I've been doing in pandemic, but what truly has inspired me and challenged my heart, I think we've all heard about Ahmaud Arbery. Mm-hmm. And so this past Friday, not the 15th, but May 8th, on his birthday, I decided to run in his spirit because we all know what have happened as it relates to this young man being actually murdered for running in a neighborhood by two individuals who, number one, took it upon themselves to put the law in their hands.
Yeah.
And to actually go ahead and take its life because in their minds, it wasn't worth keeping it. And I'm making that assumption, but based on what I saw, they made a decision to take this young man's life because he was not supposed to be in that neighborhood.
Well, are they? So they say, right? It was a shocking situation. It was a shocking killing. And I had lots of feelings about it, as I know you did as well.
Yeah, and I think, what has come out, and there's still more to come out. I think the reason why I bring it up in the last 2 weeks, because I think it really speaks to the issue around social justice. You know, the systems that's in place that allow individuals to take, you know, someone's life. I mean, they pretty much said that they were making a citizen's arrest.
Right.
Now, my understanding of a citizen arrest is that if I see you do a crime, Daniel, that then I have the right to make a citizen arrest, but that's based on reasonable force. You know, this reasonable force, and if it's more force than it's more reasonable, I should do it. Okay. So that's one of the statements that they made. They were making a citizen's arrest, but they never did see a crime happen other than that he was running in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then the force that happened, they basically are saying they were standing their ground. I don't know how you stand your ground with someone who's running with no weapon, and you have not only one person, two persons, but three persons. How are you standing your ground? Because standing your ground means that you don't have any other recourse but to defend yourself. But this person was running. In fact, he had the right to stand his ground. That's my opinion, but you know, I could be wrong. So yeah, it brings up a lot of feelings for me.
Yeah, I think justifiably so. And you know, even without getting into the legal components of what happened with Ahmaud, I think looking at how our justice system responded to the situation, yes, whether or not it was them standing their ground, is murder an acceptable outcome of a citizen's arrest? I mean, that part is what is confusing to me. And also how long it took them. I think we keep forgetting that we just learned about this in the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
This happened back in February.
Yes.
It took months for the police to arrest the known culprits of the act. Yes. And if those individuals were Black, there is no doubt that whether they were innocent or not, whether they were justified or not, there is no doubt that they would have been arrested.
Yes. I would agree with you too, but I think there's other things at play here too. I mean, you said that, you know, it's murder. It's murder now. When I say murder now, the actual term murder has been used in the last 3 weeks as it relates to this case. When this case first happened in February, it wasn't considered a murder. It was a justified killing, because what the local authorities were saying, it was justified. It was a justified killing. It wasn't a murder.
Right. And I think that that's going to continue to play out in society, right? People are going to pick sides. One thing that I will say, looking at sort of social justice and in our country, that I have been pleased with was the amount of immediate support that we heard, at least I was able to see, both locally and nationally and internationally. This is a story that the moment that video was released, I found people from across the country standing behind Ahmaud and his family and demanding for justice. And that was a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing, but it speaks to something that's bigger, which is, again, the system. The fact that the system that is set up did not take the immediate recourse that we've seen these last couple of weeks.
Right.
That is for me the main issue.
Yes.
The fact that we had to work in grassroots effort to get this case to have some type of national attention so things can happen. I mean, I run in the mornings and I'm by myself. And where I run at is considered a very nice neighborhood. And I'm running first thing in the morning, so it's dark.
Yeah.
And so this really rings true to me as far as my fear and my safety, you know, because I'm doing what most people get to do that don't look like me without any fear. Now this is in the back of my head as it relates to, I'm by myself, Ahmaud was by himself.
Yes.
He was jogging. I do it too.
Yeah.
And because someone can make an assumption, why is she running? Why is he running in his neighborhood? There's been, thefts that's been happening. It must be him or it must be her. So for me, it really resonates that we got to deal with the real issue, which is the system, because that system is not set up to protect people like me or Ahmad or you, Daniel.
No, absolutely. And I was when that video came out, the second video of him going into the home and looking at the home, I immediately had a memory back when I lived in Los Angeles, and I lived in Sherman Oaks, which is right over the hill from Beverly Hills. So again, up and down, right? I didn't quite have enough to live in Beverly Hills. So I'm living over the hill in Sherman Oaks, and I was a waiter and I was an actor, hitting the grind, sort of doing that deep and dirty in Los Angeles. And whenever I would have a bad day, whether it be because, some love triangle, I don't know if that was exactly what I meant to say, maybe some love trauma that I had gotten into, or maybe I didn't get a part that I auditioned for. But I used to go up to this house. It was not an abandoned house, but it was a house under construction on top of the Hollywood Hills. And it was a big, beautiful, half constructed home. And I would go in that home and I would sit by what would eventually become a pool. And I would stare across all of LA and I would think about my day and think about what I had experienced. And I thought, oh my God, I used to do that. And I didn't do this once. I did it often, and for years I did it because the home, whoever was building it obviously had run out of the resources to keep building it. So it struck me that was something that like you're saying, you jogging through a nice neighborhood, me sitting up on this home, someone could have stood out and said, hey, what are you doing here? Chased me down and taken my life. And it really struck me how senseless that act, whether or not he was trespassing, how senseless of an act that was, and how messed up our country is still.
Yeah. And again, it just goes back to the system that currently is in many communities. It is not set up for people of color. It's not set up to give us always the benefit of doubt. You know what I'm saying? It's set up to, first of all, criminalize us, then ask questions.
Yes.
And that does challenge my spirit, because Ahmad was supposed to turn 26 on May 8th.
Yep.
And when I think about my nieces and nephews, I mean, they're around that age too. And I'm often challenged, but then there's the other piece of this too. After really understanding and reading what's in the media, good and bad around this case, because we don't know how this is going to end. They've been arrested finally. But we don't know about the next piece of this, which is they're going to go to trial, and they're going to be judged by their a jury of their peers. We don't know what that's going to end up being, and we've seen this before in other cases that, in our minds, looking at it, it appears to be something where we know justice is going to be served.
We hope that justice is
right, but then it ends up where justice isn't served. So I say that because, again, it goes back to the system. How do we now address the issue, which is truly changing the system to work for all and not for a few?
Right, and I think it's complicated, and we will see. For me, and this is something that about me, is that I tend to have to live in a place of positivity and hope. And so I will continue to carry that with my heart, that justice will prevail. And I'm standing by this idea that it is not a perfect scenario, but there was a swift response by the majority in this country, faster than I have ever seen the country come together around race. Faster ever, and I'm standing behind that is a significant shift in our country, and that his death will not be in vain, and that we will have changed because of this. I really am hopeful for that.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that his unfortunate death, will ring true to significant radical change around race relationships in our country.
Absolutely. They are calling out different individuals who are connected to the case, and they are, I think, justifiably questioning the system now. And I'm really excited to see what happens with that.
I really hope that again, it's a significant radical change in race relationships and addressing the systems that really use race to determine a person's, worth and value. Um, if this happens as a result, then, God bless his family, because at the end of the day, change is going to happen, but it came at the expense of them losing their loved one.
Absolutely.
Well, but that I'm being hopeful. I mean, another thing that happened for me is, a couple of years ago when I moved into my house, I actually took gun classes because I'm a single woman now and I gotta protect myself. Yes, so I gotta protect myself, and so I actually took a gun class because I was going to pursue getting me a gun.
Oh, jeez.
I was. So
Okay.
I got my certificate, did my 4 hours, supposed to send my paperwork in, and then I can get licensed and go purchase me a gun. I actually stopped that process because I was like, I really don't need a gun because my temperament is not the best. Like, I will shoot you up. So I kind of recognize that. But now, the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
it just became ever more important in my world to say, you know what, you need to follow through, because if if I'm licensed and I have the right to carry a gun, then why wouldn't I? Everybody else is doing it.
So are you going to do it?
I am moving forward.
Really?
My goal is to have me a firearm that I'm licensed to carry by the end of this summer. It's going to be cute, though. You know that, right? It's just going to be a cute firearm.
Now I have to admit, and I lost my brother. We're starting with a pretty down part of this show, but we're going to lift it up later, hopefully. But we lost my brother to gun violence,
Yeah.
and so because of that, I am pretty anti-guns. But I also understand the argument. I too, honestly. We talked about it. I have thought about, not me owning a gun. I don't think I could ever own a gun, but understanding that it is important that people be able to I don't want to use the word protect themselves, but hell, that's what it is. It's protecting.
It's protecting yourself.
It is.
I mean, for me, I've been in places where I've seen people walk in and they are strapped. And it does causes some type of tension in the room. But at the end of the day, when I think about who I am, I'm a single African American woman who, you're not going to treat me any kind of way. Number one.
Right.
That's clear. Anybody who's ever met me, you're just not going to treat me any kind of way. Number two, the fact that we're now at a point in our society where people are emboldened to cross your personal space, to say and do anything they want to. Saying something to me is fine. You can say whatever you want to me and I can keep the train moving. I can bump on that train and keep it moving. But when you invade my personal space, that becomes a problem for me.
Yeah, but I think it's what's interesting, Upendo, because I do know you, I think this is more complicated than that.
It is.
I mean, the truth is, if you had to use that gun to protect yourself, I think it would impact your life for the rest of your life. I don't think it's something that you would ever get over.
No. Well, I'm going to challenge you on that.
Okay.
I'm going to challenge you on that.
And all of a sudden, I'm a little scared.
I'm going to challenge you on that. I think that if you are truly going to go, and I'm just going to just speak for me in my own personal world, if I'm going to move
Can
forward.
you hear? I wonder if you could hear the ice. I'm an ice chewer. My entire family is an ice chewer. So I'm just letting you know, if you are listening to the podcast and you hear the that's the ice. It's not my teeth, and I come from a family.
I was in the middle of saying something profound.
But listen, it is profound. We're going to get back to whether or not you would kill someone and regret it. But I just wanted to explain that if someone's hearing that crunching,
that afterwards. But it's okay. I'm gonna let that go.
I think it's important because I'm afraid people either watching the video or listening to the podcast might be afraid that I was losing some teeth. I'm sorry.
That was so inappropriate, but I'm gonna let that go.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to chew ice while in my microphone.
Oh my God!
Can't promise.
Anyway, going back to my point.
Yes, I apologize.
Because you think that I would, and I'm paraphrasing now, that I would be bothered if I killed someone. But my whole point,
I said it would change your life forever. It would change you forever. If you killed someone, whether the person was an evil person or not, the act of killing another person.
But my whole point in challenging what you're saying, that I'm going to be changed forever. So this is what I know. I know that if I'm going to go through the process, because remember, I started the process before and I stopped because I was like, ah, now I know why I'm moving forward. It's clear to me that if I move forward in the process of getting everything I need to own a gun legally and to be able to operate a gun legally, that means that there is a chance that I will use the gun. So number one, and this is part of what they also explain in class, like, you will be changed, but know why you're going to be changed. So you're going through. So my safety is more important than anybody else's safety.
Mm. And this is where we as friends sometimes agree to disagree, and that's fine. That's why we love each other, and we can always be
right.
We can always be honest with each other. Yeah,
so
I think for me, I am more interested in us getting to a place where violence and death by guns is no longer an option. I think the bigger issue versus my best friend packing is these mother effers who killed Ahmaud should not. I don't care if he was a retired officer. I don't care who he was, if he had permission from the owner of that home to guard that house. He should not have the right to have killed Ahmaud.
Right.
Period.
And I agree with everything you just said. I agree with everything you just said as it relates to, killing. I don't believe in killing people. I don't believe in guns either, but also I know that my safety is most important to me. I don't want to die. That is not something I want to do. And because of the current, I guess, environment, the current environment, what we're feeling in this community, people are no longer respecting each other and taking it upon themselves to take the law in their hand or to believe that they are.
It's a scary place. Our world has become scary, intimidating, and absolutely, I understand why a woman or a man would want to protect themselves if need be.
And here's the other piece of this too, and then we can just move on to something different. But since this has happened, a lot more African Americans are seeking the whole process for gun ownership now. And guess what? The NRA is not happy with that. The Second Amendment apparently doesn't apply to the black people who own guns. But we gonna go out there and we're gonna get our guns and we're gonna be ready. That's the reality. Like let's just be ready. And I think that, me personally, going back to the challenge that I'm offering my challenge back to you, it's my safety over someone else's safety. Mm-hmm. I will not be changed by that. I'll be changed that I protected myself. And if this is the result of me protecting myself, I knew that when I carried that gun, and that person had no right to invade and to even challenge my own personal safety. Correct. So I'm okay with that. I can live with that. Now, I couldn't live with, me killing someone and it had nothing to do with my safety.
And it's not a matter of whether it was just, we're being asked to move forward, but I am going to finish this thought and then we're going to move forward, I think with that, I just lost my thought, is what I wanted to say.
That's what happens when you're a Gen Xer.
No, I don't want to go there yet. We'll go there. I want to finish my thought and then we'll go there. Because we're going to reduce this anyways. We're going to be able to cut some stuff down. You were just saying about the gun thing. Oh, yeah. The thing that I'm arguing is not whether or not it makes sense for someone like you to have a gun. I completely own that. My comment earlier, and I also stand by that, and I think you kind of said this, is the act of killing someone, whether justifiable or not, is a horrific experience. Absolutely. For the person who kills, and no one, and I'm hoping that that father and the son, I forget their last names, but I'm hoping that they could show some remorse, even though they're trying to prove their innocence. They killed a human being. And so that's my point, is when we kill, whether justified or not, whether because we were endangered or not, it is a horrific act, is all I mean. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't protect themselves. It's just scary as hell, and I'm just not going out anymore. So, anyways, I just
Okay,
wanted to
well,
get
just
that.
so you know, once I'm able to carry and pack my heat,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
protect you, Daniel.
Well, I will. Okay, I appreciate that, boo boo.
Okay, and I'll protect you now with that one.
Yes, yes, yes. So yes, we can transition now to the other thing we wanted to talk about today, which I was really excited about. So one of the cool things that happened over the last 2 weeks is we were asked to sort of describe what this show was about, and so
Yeah.
we put pen to paper and we were talking about what the Up and Down is truly about, and a word popped up that we hadn't really talked about.
Popped up.
But the idea that we are Gen Xers popped up. That we decided that we wanted to put that in our description of this program.
Absolutely.
That we represent the Gen Xers.
I'm a Gen Xer.
We are a Gen Xer. We are both Gen Xers.
Yes.
Means that we were
I'm
born.
on the younger part of the Gen Xer
Yeah.
spectrum.
Oh yeah. According to what you reported at our last session, you actually are a millennial, but that's a whole nother story.
I'm an old millennial. I'm an old millennial. No, but Gen Xer. We are both Gen Xers, and actually doing that exercise of going back to growing up and what it looked like for us being Gen Xers.
Yes.
I mean, we lived in a very, very interesting time when it comes to what this world looks like today.
What do you mean by that?
So we were coming up on an age where technology started to happen. And so we got the first glimpses of true technology, the first computer, the real computer, a desktop was through our time. I remember we had cassette tapes, then CDs. I think about, we lived in a time where we got to experience the changes of technology.
Yes.
Real quickly too.
Yes.
Real quickly. I remember MySpace. I had a MySpace account.
Oh my God. I think we all still have MySpace. Is MySpace still in existence?
I don't know.
I had a bang-in MySpace
No,
page.
MySpace was the bomb. I had the best song on MySpace.
Oh my
page.
God. Mine was a Broadway song.
Of course it was. Of course it was. Mine was pretty cool and funky, like tropical vibes. And I wonder
Is MySpace, can you find your MySpace page?
I think I can.
Anyhow, so we decided that we're going to be on this topic for a second, actually, Mr. Producer. This is actually a major topic for us. So with Gen Xers, I was interested in sort of evaluating why is it that we don't hear about our generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're the forgotten generation. Everybody still, to this day, they talk about baby boomers or millennials. That's all you hear about.
And the Gen
Baby
Xers
boomers
are
or
nowhere
millennials.
in the conversation, even though when you think about the Gen X, that part in our history is there are some phenomenal people, some phenomenal things that happen that
Yes.
kind of carries where we are today.
Yes.
As a society. I think the millennials are going to be pushing the norms.
Yes.
That is what I think millennials are good at. What Gen Xers are really good at, in my opinion, is that we learned how to work together. It was really about coming together, working in teams, how to leverage, how to make it work out. It wasn't so much about an individual perspective. It was more of a collective perspective in the context of, so now we're working. So how do we work more collectively in a team? Because we were still in the business of working for companies.
Right. And I think it's interesting, you said earlier that we are the generation that grew up without digital lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? We remember what an 8-track was. We remember what we had life before an internet, before you could go into Google and type in a word and find out everything you wanted to know about a topic. We actually had to go to libraries.
We had to go to the libraries, but think about this, even before cell phones, I remember when it was beepers.
Oh my goodness. Remember beepers? And then you'd spell hello with the 4 and the 3. What was it? It was a 4, 3. What were the L's?
The
For
1, 1, like 1, 1, 0. Yeah, hello.
Oh my goodness.
We had beepers, but then when beepers became fashionable, all of a sudden you start hearing about a cell phone, and the cell phones was huge
Oh
back
my goodness.
then.
And for Richie Bougie.
Yeah. So, when I think about just how I grew up, I mean, I love the 80s music.
80s music was great. 80s music was fun. Absolutely.
And
What do you think about when you
always-
think about 80s? What do you think about? Who's the first person that comes in your mind?
For 80s music,
Yes.
Michael Jackson for me.
Michael Jackson. Okay, Madonna for me.
Yeah,
Madonna.
Michael Jackson, Madonna. But even some of the big-haired metal bands, like you joke with me all the time about my music. He jokes with me all the
Oh
time
my
about
God.
my music. It's like you're so not dependent when I think about you.
Okay, no. You just tried to skate around a topic. We are not skating around topics in here. I am a biracial person. I am a product of a white mother and a black father. And there are times where I in my life have been called too white or too black. And so there are maybe been times where my sister here has been like, "Oh, you are so white" when it comes to certain things.
Oh yeah, I say that all the time.
And then this one will get on her music and she will start blasting her workout music. And it's some 80s rock band.
Journey.
Stuff. I'm like, what
Styx.
the heck is that?
Journey,
what the heck is
Styx.
that? Excuse me for 1 second while I mess with our lighting.
Yes. But like, I love that.
Is that better?
I love 80s rock band. I think that's the best music to run to too, because it gets you like moving and stuff. But then when I think about music also, I think about like the 90s R&B.
Yes.
Like you will not get better R&B than the 90s. I'm sorry.
Who's your top R&B group?
My top R&B group from the 90s, hands down group, is Silk.
Okay, Silk was good.
Ooh,
Silk was wonderful.
Ooh, what you say?
Now, that's a hard one for me. There's so many R&B men's groups that I just don't know the names, right? I mean, obviously, New Edition was like the granddaddy of them all. That's probably 80s, really.
Yeah, 80s, early 90s. Jodeci.
But
Oh, my
Jodeci
God.
was amazing.
Oh, Jodeci was amazing.
But, I'm a gay man, so immediately I go to En Vogue. And I think about
En Vogue, yes.
was the shizzle.
En Vogue was our quintessential... what was the group Diana Ross was?
Supremes.
It
Absolutely.
was our Supremes.
Yes, and I believe, what was the girl's name from En Vogue who had the attitude issue?
I don't know.
I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
Her name, who was the one that, anyhow, but I think had she had her stuff together, they would have been the Destiny's Child of the 90s before Destiny's Child came in.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure of her name, but yeah, definitely attitudes and egos got into the way of their success.
Oh, that's going to kill me. Okay, in the future, we need to have an iPad here so we can look up things so that we don't have to, it won't kill us. Dawn.
It was Dawn.
Was it Dawn?
But also remember TLC. Oh my God.
TLC was amazing.
Don't go chasing
waterfalls.
Listen to the river in the...
All I know is the video when they're in the water.
Luther Vandross for me was just total R&B. So when I think
we're doing a music segment. I didn't realize we were doing a music segment.
No, we're doing Gen Xers.
No. But okay, so let's play our game. We had a game, and what we wanted to.
He had a game, and of course I don't follow games that he does because he just thinks of it in his world.
Well, what I wanted to do in talking about the Gen Xers and believing that I believe, and I think throughout over time on the show, we will be able to highlight the importance of the Generation X generation. But I thought it would be fun to think about who are the people that molded you from our generation, not just during the periods that we were our formative years, but people born between, 1965 and 1980. Who are the top 5 people that changed our world, changed your life?
So, of course, I'm going to do a Upendo.
Go for it.
Which is going to do a kind of switch on that. I'm going to...
Thanks. My game has already been shifted.
It has, because I really can't think of like one person or 2, 3, 4 that really from our generation that made such an impact. But I can't tell you.
So you basically are saying the millennials and the baby boomers are really what matters.
Okay, so you want to play that game? No, we're not doing that. We're so not going to do that. But what I will say is this, and I think it then will lead into you being able to share your 5 people. But I think that for me, there were 5 really not critical, very important shows.
Okay.
During this time. It's been a Gen Xer for me. So the first one was A Different World.
Oh my God, amazing. Absolutely.
And for me, that impact of seeing African Americans in college living their life, getting educated, understanding social justice issues. That was a very, very important show for me when I think about where I want to be educationally. So that's number one. Number two, living single. Yeah, again, the characters all represented something. When I think about, okay, I'm graduating from college, I need to be out here striving and living. But most important is about relationship. Because now I'm at a point where I'm in college, just graduating from college. Now I'm choosing my family, choosing my adult family, and living single kind of represented that for me.
And living single was the Friends before Friends.
Actually, it actually was on the air before Friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Friends came on, and all of a sudden, living single. Well, for African Americans, it still was very popular.
Very, very popular. But I think it doesn't get its credit for actually changing the genre of before Friends
sitcoms.
came in.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And then Martin and anybody who knows the Martin show, when you talk about relationships, like being in love, Martin was, for me, the epitome of you want to be with someone who's going to make you laugh. You want to be with someone who can share their feelings. You want to be with someone who doesn't mind joking on themselves, you know? So that was important about relationships. And then Sex in the City. Oh my goodness. Sex in the City was... hands down, just like a sexual revolution for women. For women, that was Gen Xers. That's my opinion. And then the last
use
one.
Your microphone. Go into your microphone.
Yes, and the last one I would say is Will and Grace. I don't know what it is, but all through high school, I've always been able to go in and out of different circles. I could go with the preppy kids. I could be with the African American kids. I could be with the kids who were considered strange. I was able to maneuver through all different circles in high school. And there was always individuals that I naturally gravitated towards. And I did not necessarily knew they were gay. I know they're gay now because I'm older. And when Will and Grace came on TV, it was just a confirmation of the people that I knew growing up, that they were being appreciated and understood, and that their lives matter.
Yep. Well, obviously, as a gay man, that was a huge show for me. And I actually think the new version that just ended, so the reboot, was actually very successful. I don't know if you watched it.
I didn't watch the reboot.
But in fact, the final season, I think they had 4 seasons this second time around, was remarkable. It was really, really wonderful.
Look at it. I'm gonna have to go back and look at it.
Well, so you did change up the game a little bit,
I did.
And I stand by every single one of those selections. And I think those are all excellent. And you kind of run the gamut of the generation, right? With Sex and the City kind of bringing up the end. Well, it's interesting. One of the people that I chose is actually Aaron Spelling.
Yes.
Aaron Spelling. Now, Aaron Spelling, who was not born during our generation. In fact, I'm not even sure if he was a baby boomer. He might have been part of the silent generation.
He was part of the silent because he was that old. He was much older.
That brother introduced some of the most interesting,
he was not a brother.
important.
Let's be clear.
Well, he was a brother to me. A brother is not someone who is black. That's for me.
You really shouldn't be using that word.
That's someone for me. Is that Aaron Spelling was definitely someone who, I'm sorry, we're getting some notes about our microphones. Off camera, what is it? Can you hear us? Are we good? All right.
Yes.
All right. Is it both of us or okay?
No, it's just me.
It's just you. All right. Get your microphone in check, lady. All right.
Testing. The producer just gave me the eye, like, you don't get that microphone together, girl. Okay, go ahead, Daniel.
But I thought both, you cannot talk about our generation, the Generation X, without thinking about Beverly Hills 90210 and Melrose Place. Exceptional television that brought forth, especially Beverly Hills 90210, brought forth so many important issues about what it meant to be a young person in this country during that time. So
let me just kind of put a little salt on that one for you. So I think when you look at 90210, you're right. He was able to highlight the issues impacting that generation, but from a white perspective.
I didn't realize that this show was just about the black perspective.
No, it's not. But right. I want to just put that. I want to just put that out there because for whoever's watching, you say that and be like, I never got into 90210 because it never represented me.
I think if you go back and look, you will be surprised by how revolutionary and how they actually incorporated things like multi-ethnic, multiracial relationships and couples. And things like that.
I get that, Daniel. But again, when I am like you, I never got down with 90210. You know why?
Why?
Because they didn't represent me.
Okay, so that was my first one.
Okay,
we're running out of time, so I want to make sure I get the rest of my list. So I'm just going to roll them off. Is that you can't talk about Generation X without talking about Winona Ryder.
What you say? Heathers,
right? Heathers.
Oh
Absolutely.
The best.
Love me some Heathers. Winona Ryder, I don't think people can appreciate how amazing that woman was, how huge she was. And you know, unfortunately, people remember her now for her shoplifting game and for
she was on drugs, probably.
Oh, she definitely was. She had issues. We'll just say that. But she was wonderful. I think an absolute testament to what that generation exhibited. And then I went through the list of singers who were representative of that. And I mean, you got people like Kurt Cobain. Hello, yes, Kurt Cobain changed the way.
T-Spirit!
Right, Kurt Cobain. You had Tupac Shakur. And what he did.
Biggie.
And then you had my girl, Mariah Carey. Who is, I think, just as important. In fact, yesterday was the, 1990, so that would have been 30 year. Yesterday was the 30-year anniversary of Vision of Love.
Wow.
30-year anniversary of Vision of Love.
Do you know? A vision of love.
When I graduated from high school, we did a little capsule where we had to put something in, we wrote down different things about what we did, and then they mailed it to us 10 years later. Do you know on that capsule what I wrote? It said, "Who would you be married to 10 years from now?" I wrote Mariah Carey.
Oh, wow.
Because that was realistic.
Very. But I don't know. It probably could have happened back then.
It may have. It may have happened. And then just a couple other people that I think are awesome that I didn't even realize were Gen Xers. Michelle Obama's at the very beginning of Gen Xers. She was not 64. Yeah. But I didn't realize that she was part of our generation.
That's why we love her so much. That's why we love Michelle Obama.
Tiger Woods, Chelsea Handler. I think there's just so
Serena Williams, Venus Williams, Halle Berry.
Halle Berry, yes. Absolutely. So I just think that there are amazing
Kamala Harris is a Gen Xer.
Kamala Harris, absolutely.
Yes, she's a Gen Xer too. So
is she really part of our generation?
Yes, she is.
It's so weird to me.
She's on the early, like 64, 65. Yeah.
It is amazing to me because I think of her as an older person, but she's our age.
She's a little older than us, though. Remember, I came in on the last part of it.
Yes.
Yeah, our producer is like in the back doing hands. I'm thinking he's going to let us talk a little bit longer just because we were trying to get our groove in today.
Well, perhaps. I'm not sure how we're playing today, but this is a whole new game for us. We are still learning what this process is.
Not to chew ice on camera and then to stop someone's segment would be number one thing that we learned today.
Sorry.
So let's talk about what's been your up these last couple of weeks.
My up, you know what? I think that I have to think. I actually did not prepare an up today. You go first, and I'll think about my up.
Okay, so my up, hands down, I would say would be I accomplished a gumbo. I made a chicken and sausage gumbo. It was my up because I really was into making it the way the recipe said it, and I did it.
All right. My up this week was, I actually did a post around my desire to be better with my Spanish. And I was amazed by the number of friends who responded to that post. And I was about to spend a lot of money, talk about our experience of, wanting to budget this time frame. I was about to spend money on Rosetta Stones, but I actually was turned on to a couple free apps out there. Babbel, which I'd never even heard of.
I've heard about
Duolingo is out there. And then there's just lots of really great ideas of ways to learn a foreign language for free. And so that's been really exciting. And I'm on my way to learning mi español.
Okay.
All right. So anyhow,
Yeah.
I think that we're about at time, Miss Upendo. I can't believe time has
think
flown by again.
I think so. Did you have a good time this week?
I had a very good time. It's a little stressful with the technical aspects of it. What y'all don't see is we got a producer on the other side of all this mess who is pointing at things and shoving things down. And so it's a little stressful, but that's part of doing a podcast, I guess. We have to get used to that.
We have to get used to having our wonderful producer. And I will just shout out our producer, Grape Seeker, Mr. Gregory Dillard. Thank you for actually basically saying to us, we're going to do this. We are going to do this.
Wow, this is like a live show. We are cutting out. We're on 7, 5. Thank you all for tuning in to the Up and Down with Daniel and
Upendo. And stay tuned to next time.